Gundam.tk presents Real Grade Skygrasper and Launcher Sword Pack. Hey, what's up again everybody? It's Robert184, 2Rs2Bs from GundamReviews.net, and if you saw the previous part, you probably saw that I'm much more impressed with this Real Grade Skygrasper than I thought I would be. The construction of the actual kit itself is fun, but it's the ability to take all these striker packs and put them on display stands and onto the Skygrasper itself. You can put on all three that have really brought this thing to life. But the main course is still, how does it look when you put them onto the Strike Gundam? So let's find out how the Strike and the Launcher Gundam is going to fare. First honor is going to go to the Launcher just because, yes, its name is first on the box. The first thing that you're going to have to do though is grab this magic little black piece, which is always used to attach the green part onto the shoulder. You plug that in under these armor guards. And when done correctly, you can see that that's going to fit in there no problem whatsoever, and then you can take this and just drop it on, and it's going to fit in without a click, but it's going to be quite secure. And then all you have to do is slide on the backpack. When he's all put together, this one's not going to have the same kind of visual impact as the sword, just because he's only got two parts to put on, but that shoulder one more than makes up for it, with its oversized the panels, or whatever you want to call them, just looking great there. And it's the colors with the red and the yellow to go along with the black part there for the Gatling. That looks fantastic. Where I'm less impressed though is with that thing on the back, because you do have a million options in terms of where you put this on and how you position things, but I'm following the manual here and it's going to cause a few weight issues you can imagine to have that much weight that far in the back, so you're going to have to swing the legs right under there. But anyway, most of the time it's going to be deployed, but it's not all that sharp when it's on display like this. Alright, so let's see how good I am at following the directions here. You're supposed to take this whole thing and bend it down like this before rotating this whole thing down at the bottom out like this, and that doesn't feel all that good. It can get into place, however, and when you do that, you bend this part up, and then you spin this whole thing down and underneath the arm, and you can start to see what's going to be happening here once you take this and then you twist the gun up into place. For the grip, the easiest thing to do is just take this part right off, and you use these new manipulators that are included, and don't forget that these white parts are going to fall off every time you do that. Now it is sort of possible to get everything in place here, but it is going to take a little bit of effort because it is finicky. I had to take the backpack off and just maneuver everything into place, and that's taking the grip off. And once you get the hand in though, you can actually get that, but the more I look at the promotional pictures around the side of the box in the manual, they don't actually show you a lot of details of how this arm is moved, so I wonder if every once in a while they are just cheating, because you could just use the support arm to get it into place and not actually have that left hand gripping it, which would certainly increase the range of motion. But you can actually do more than I expected with it, so you can have it going down no problem, you can bring it up like this, and remember this is with the shoulder not displacing itself and the backpack staying in, well, 9 times out of 10. You can bring it across the body about this far, so overall I have to say that I give this thing a lot more credit than I did at the beginning, and that arm is quite a work of mechanical genius, it seems. For looks comparison anyway, here you have it next to the Real Grade Freedom, which was Kira's successor suit. And I suppose that this shouldn't be the age to normal, but it should be the double bullet variety if you were putting like beside like. Getting the sword strike ready, you're going to take this shoulder part here, you detach the front and back, and you should just be able to clip that on there, and you can hear a little bit of a satisfying click. You attach these front and back parts, which are going to go on again nice and satisfyingly, and then down at the bottom you can take this part here, make sure you've got the right attachment point, not the same one that you attached to the Skygrasper, and plug that in. When he's all put together, the backpack is very easy to put on, and that sword is certainly going to look a little bit better than the launcher would, I'd say, even though it is removed from the body somewhat. You can see that the tip is just touching the ground there, and this arm is certainly going to stand out. I thought the green one really stood out over on the other side, but this one seems to stand out even more so, although it's helped by the fact that it has that extra attachment down below, and those little color details like the blue on blue to go along with the black piping bring this guy to life. For the Rock Anchor, the Panzereisen, I love these German names that this thing has. You can see that the sword can get it out of the way pretty well, and actually I haven't had any problems at all with that shoulder, despite the fact that it's actually pretty dynamic, or it's never gotten in the way despite the fact that it's got parts hanging out. And when you use this part, you can bring that forearm part forward to make it look a lot more cool, and though I've just done a really quick job with the wire, still the effect is more pleasing than I figured it would be. With the Beam Boomerang or the Midas Messer in hand here, it's a little bit disappointing that it's not going to fit in all that well. It's not that it fits in poorly, it's just that it is a loose fit compared to everything else that has fit in very, very well, including the way that this part plugs into the left hand when you're holding it. Anyway, it's still going to look pretty good, and remember that you can swap these pink parts on and off, and I wonder if you can bend them. When you're getting, though, the Sword Strike's trademark sword ready, the best thing to do is just detach the manipulators, and it's great that they have these little parts here that bend down and are going to plug in, so that's going to be a lot more secure than the Beam Boomerang. When he's all sorted up, if that's the right expression for it, it's still not quite as good as I remember the Master Grade Force Impulse being, but still there's a lot of positives about it. First of all, the shoulder, you're still going to get a great range of motion with that, surprisingly, despite the fact that the arms, no matter which way you put the arms, and the arms are sort of cool because you can rotate them around in quite a few places. The first time I tried it, this part here on the forearm got in the way of actually holding the sword, but all you have to do is twist the arm out of the way, and both hands are going to fit in very well. Just be careful that you're not losing those gray parts that are between the manipulators and the actual forearms. So in terms of what you can do for moving, well, you can bring the sword up like this, so you can have a nice downward slice kind of thing there. And you can also move them this way, but if you're trying to move them across the body, really if you want to have both hands on the handle, you're going to be pretty much locked into this kind of position. So it's just a question of which height you want to put it at and how much of this shoulder part you want to try to show off. So for this one, is it better to be the king of dual wielders or just use one properly? I gotta say that I sort of like the looks of the real grade, especially with the extra details. And when you just see all those mechanical details, and especially the inner frame and the flexibility, this high grade is amazing, but how cool will that be to have a real grade in, who knows, 5-10 years, or maybe only 1 or 2. And maybe you can guess what's coming. And this, ever since Gundam Seed came out, I suppose fans have just been saying that the thought and the possibility of this is just perfect. So now this isn't fully perfect because we don't have all the backpacks on there, but basically if you just scrap these from the launcher and just put that in hand, no problem at all with that being held up in one. You've got the Ailes shield on over there, and you might as well just switch this forearm weapon over there to be with the shield, with the sword. One thing to be very careful of though is that the little tiny parts that are attached onto the shield, those are very easy to get lost inside the manipulators when you're swapping things on and off. You could still plug in the beam sabers on the back, and that ale pack is looking pretty good, and I gotta say that as cheesy and uncanon as this is, it still looks really cool and deserves a fly past, I suppose. Now that I think about it, you could take that beam rifle and put it on the back as well. So that'll wrap up my look at the mobile suit mode of the launcher and the Sword Strike Gundam, and I gotta say that I'm pretty happy with both of them. You can imagine that there are a few detrimental things, and I'll talk about those in the verdict, but overall, it's seeming pretty cool. So why don't you let me know which is your favorite mode? What do you think of the perfect mode down below? Is there a better way to do it without modding all of the backpacks? Anyway, would love to hear from you, and stay tuned for the last and final part, all the good and bad things, so that you can make a call whether this is worth another $2,500 on top of the $2,500 you may have already spent. Anyway, everybody, thanks for watching. See you next time. Yeah, it's been done.